16 months in the union, as a pipe fitter apprentice. It's just crazy to say 16 months. I just remember my first month in the union, as a pipe fitter. It's been awesome, I gotta say. Many things have happened in the month of September. But before I get into that, if some of you guys are new or you come across this channel, this video, I'm basically just documenting, my journey, as a pipe fitter apprentice throughout my 5-year apprenticeship. And who knows, I will continue making videos for you guys, giving you guys advice. But that is basically the plan. I will give you guys an update once a month, talking about my experience, anything that I've learned, what I'm doing. I was probably in some of you guys' shoes right now, where you wanted to learn everything that there is to know, about the pipe, like the plumbers and pipe fitters union, or just construction in general. I know for a fact I wanted to know everything about it. With all that being said, let's just get right into it. So for the month of September, I actually started school, but I'm not going to get into that right now. I will in a bit. I'm going to give you guys a rundown of, what I've actually been doing out in the field. As some of you guys know, I'm in a new construction building. They're using geothermal as heating and cooling. Something that I have actually been doing is laying out access panels. So there's these specific access panels that, belong on each part of the floor. And what this allows is for, whoever's going to work on this in the future, like a service guy or anything like that is going to work on these, they have access to reach these systems. And the way I lay out, once again, is with this machine called a Trimble. Is basically you have this camera set up somewhere in the corner of the room, and it detects pinpoints exactly where these access panels are going to be in. It gives you the measurements and everything. For example, these access panels could range from like 24 by 30, and this camera detects, shoots a laser onto the ground. It's all programmed with the blueprints of this specific floor, or wherever the camera, shoots these points. I gotta go over there, mark it on the floor, and lay it out. This is also something important to do because, you have to make sure where these access panels are gonna go, where they're gonna fit perfectly where they have to go. For example, these access panels has to access many important, parts in the ceiling. For example, like some valves that need to be closed or open at some point to do some work. Something that I also have been doing, at the site is a lot of drilling. I have spent, entire days just drilling holes into the ceiling so we can put up hangers. And every time you're doing overhead work, it can get tiring, but there's ways where you won't get tired. For example, just getting position as close as possible as you can to the ceiling so you don't have to deal with that. And when you're drilling above your head, also expect dust to fall. So that's why I always gotta wear a mask, a vacuum, and a shield, because you don't want that coming back at you. It happens a lot. So other than just hammer drilling through the ceiling, we also have to put screws on where the hangers are going to be screwed into. And of course, this is something that has to get done. And of course, it will get done. And because we manually, drill these holes into the ceiling for the hangers, we also have to, modify the hangers to fit the height to hold the pipe, the exact height it needs to go. This is something I always bring up. Height is very important because there could be ductwork going over, or there could be like a sprinkler fitter's pipe going underneath. And those are things you always have to get, right. And those are the things that I did out in the field. And now let's talk about school. So yes, as you guys know, I started school, in the month of September. Let me give you guys a quick rundown how it works. I go to school for 2 days a week, for 3 hours each of those days. And this lasts from September all the way up until like May. So the 2 classes that I started with math and hydronics. So let's get into the math section. Of course, for math, we've been learning a lot of the offsets and like rolling 45s and going through the formulas, of course, to use in the field. It's pretty awesome because our local, of course, has a shop. So every time we do some work in class, we take some time to go out in the shop and actually put what we learned on paper into practice. So it's pretty awesome, just finding out the cut pieces for, for copper that you need, and using, the formula you gotta find, to find that cut piece. And now let's actually talk about hydronics. I find this class, to be actually pretty interesting, and something new. And it's something that, is going to be integrated a lot into my career as a pipe fitter. So this class just basically talks about, every types of systems that, that are efficient, first of all, and for heating and cooling, and just how the whole system works as a whole, from valves to boilers, to chillers. And it's just pretty awesome to get into it, just to see how different things affect, the temperature of water, and how to make it very efficient so the system is not working as hard. Of course, this is something that is, completely brand new to me. So of course, I'm learning as I'm going. Now, let me give you guys, a quick rundown of what I did in the month of September. So I basically, laid out, access panels for valves and systems that are going to be in the ceiling. And of course, I did a ton of drilling that needed to be done. I modified many hangers in the field, to the height. And now let's move on to the school. Of course, we've been working on the 45s, rolling 45s, the offsets, learning the formulas that are going to be implemented, of course, when you're out there in real life in the field. And lastly, of course, we have also been taking hydronics. So that class was actually pretty awesome to get into. If you guys made it all the way to the end, I want to say thank you guys so much for watching. And of course, if you guys have any more questions, let me know down in the comment below. I will try to, of course, answer it to the best of my knowledge. Once again, thank you guys so much. But for right now, have a blessed day.